So before I get into it,
Okay.
because I have some interesting stuff, why don't you explain what you do for us?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there.
All right. So I'm essentially doing like the marketing research, social media, content creation, and figuring out ways to engage with the beekeeping community at large.
Yep. So part of that, a big part of that, as you mentioned, is social media. So last night on Facebook, Blake Shook, who owns the Bee Supply down in Texas, used to be Texas Bee Supply, made a Facebook post that in the beekeeping community went viral. In the first hour or two, it had 500 and some shares, that kind of thing. And it turns out, as he said, bad news travels quick. So as it turns out, he shared a thing which I've printed out some of the literature from here. I'll read the first paragraph, and then I'll kind of talk about my thoughts on it and that kind of thing. So this says, as commercial beekeepers in the USA inspect their bees after winter to transport over 90% of the nation's managed honeybees to pollinate California's almonds, they're discovering alarming colony losses. These losses are severe, broad, and may impact food security through inadequate pollination services. Survey results are still accumulating, but information gathered from 234 beekeepers found an average recent loss well over 50%, with a combined financial loss of over $139 million. Combined with losses during other times of the year, this additionally puts many beekeepers at a loss rate of 70 to 100% over the last 12 months. There's a few pieces when I read that. The money involved in the amount of beekeepers sampled has to be like straight just commercial beekeepers. Uh-huh. So I haven't seen any dramatic losses or people call me, because they call me all day long, at the hobbyist and sideliner level, really the hobbyist level, because that's like 80% of the market for what we do. Mm-hmm. So I found this really alarming. So it goes on to talk about some of the research and where this has happened before, and that it's they think it's a few things. They're still gathering data. Apparently, amitraz is a treatment method that is having some issues with efficacy, and mites are building up resistance to it and that kind of thing. Okay. There was some claim, I forget which article it was, that's why one of the reasons why Canada had kind of kept the border closed to our bees going across the border, because they didn't want that resistance to track. Forget where I read that. I don't think that was a study, but it was an interesting piece of information there. So they're going through and doing all this collection, and we have a lot of commercial guys who run our units, and I have not heard, even in recent years, their losses and this kind of thing. So I was quite alarmed by that. So last night, I had a few thoughts, and we'll see what we can bring into play to better work with our consumer and all. Okay. So I want to figure out a way that we can poll not just commercial beekeepers, but the hobbyist people. All right. Some sort of form or something on our webpage that we can try and track potential losses or something throughout the year. So we'll have a brainstorm off camera to see how we can aid in gathering some information that may not be at the commercial scale. So this could be something that has to do with, a pesticide or something that's sprayed on a specific crop, like blueberries are known for being loaded with pesticides. Mm. So it could be something like that, where like the average beekeeper may not be affected as long as they're keeping their mite levels low and the viral levels low, and therefore thereafter. So I want to see about that. I also reached out to the doctor who's in charge of the Beltsville Bee Lab. Okay. To see if there's any kind of collaboration that we can do with them as far as, better products for testing and research and supplying those products to those individuals and trying to figure out what we can do to help. We're not, the biggest thing in the commercial market, but we do have, something like 15,000 beekeepers that use our products at this point. So it is a pretty large area where if they've sampled 234, if this is nationwide, we've got affected people. So it's really a how we can kind of step in and figure out how to help them. So I found this really alarming. So for your reference, and we'll put this up on screen, this is $1 million worth of dead bees. Wow. This is, and there's $139 million.
Those are the ones that were tested, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so this is part of their findings. Wow. But this is just 1 million. So there's 139 times this picture of losses so far throughout the year. So like a staggering amount. There's also in the commercial route, so bees, and again, we'll pull this up on the screen, but bees spend the large majority of their time through the summer in this orange area, and just for almond pollination, they go to California.
Okay.
This is just their pollination route. They bounce all over the place too. So I've seen routes where like they go up to like New York for apples, or Georgia down for peaches and that kind of thing. But primarily they've got a lot of them up there, which is pretty neat. So this was from the Project Apis M. They seem to be the ones that are kind of spearheading the research side of this.
Okay.
They're going to do a talk in March, they claim, about their findings and all that stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see when that comes out and really what we can do in the interim. I have not reached out to them yet to see if there's anything that we can do in their testing and findings. I find it very alarming, but I also, see it as some sort of a challenge. If it is mite related, if there's ways that we can improve the testing side of things by product or by, whatever it is. Like if there's somebody out there who has a suggestion or anything, like by all means, feel free to reach out. We want to be aiding in the discovery of whatever the cause of this is, as fast as we can and however we can. So right now I'm just going to kind of take some swings and see what we can do to help. I find this very alarming for the commercial guys. I know this is the livelihood for a lot of people. And when food starts getting at risk, it's affecting a lot more people than just beekeepers. So it's something that we really have to, keep in mind. And that as this goes along, I'll be curious to see what else comes of it. But I just wanted to explain the situation to you.
Yeah.
Have a little talk about what we can do and kind of where my head's at on it on a kind of first glance at this. I haven't done really a lot of digging beyond what was published last night, but it was alarming enough that I wanted to share. And I also wanted to document it in case other people have ideas or anything of the sort, any extra information you want to throw in the comments, some of your thoughts, if you've had losses, if there's other things that I may be bluntly just missing in what I've read so far. By all means, school me. I want to be as good as I can with this. I want to try and help as many people as we can, like in any aspect and wherever that lands. So if you guys have any suggestions or thoughts on how we can aid in this process, like by all means, feel free to leave in the comments, email me. My contact info is on our website, larabis.com, and then we'll just take it from there. You and I will get to the things I've kind of mentioned and then some, and figure out what we got going.
Are they inferring anything in the? I'll read it too, but are they inferring any like?
So the only thing that they're analyzing for so far is their samples will be analyzed for known virus levels in dying and surviving bees, parasitic varroa genes of resistance to amitraz treatments.
The amitraz treatments. Explain that to me.
So amitraz is, to my knowledge, I've never used it. I believe this is a strip that goes into the colony.
Is it still oxalic acid or
no?
It's not. Okay.
No, it's a different
totally
chemical.
Different method. Okay.
Yeah. I believe it's a harder hitting chemical because it penetrates into the boxes. I truthfully don't know that much about it, but I do know like the commercial guys lean on this heavy. I know of the word because a lot of commercial guys lean on this.
They're leaning on that more than oxalic acid.
I think it's
like some sort of combination of things.
Yeah. So a lot of guys are really. It's a time is money thing. Mm-hmm. So when they have to go out and do the laborious, treating the colonies, even though it's 20 seconds a piece and one operator can run 2 units, amitraz, they put it in the box and they're done.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's those kind of things that are really appealing to them because they don't have to do the multiple trips out and that kind of thing. And they can do it during these times when they have to get a hard hit punch so they can make it to the almond. So I think this just amitraz has fit their schedule for a while. Like we have a lot of commercial guys who run, I think our biggest is like 16,000 colonies or so. And they get it done with vaporizers, but it's really just, kind of picking your treatment plan. So it'll be interesting to see if that amitraz resistance has gotten worse.
Okay.
I think it's going to be more to the next thing, which is pesticide residue in adult bees, wax, and pollen. I think it's going to be more the pesticide thing, just by some of the comments that I was reading on other posts online late last night. Again, I'm not really versed in that side of things, but they had extra coatings on plants and stuff, and people were like, if this was any other country, it wouldn't be allowed. Like those kind of bold claims where I was like, ooh, that made me really, unsettled.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting. And then genetic screening for novel viruses and megagenome. Yep. I got a lot to learn there. Metagenomic analysis of composition of microbial community. So I'm assuming that's gut health and that kind of thing in the bees. That's one that just kind of new to me.
That's actually giving ideas of like what they're kind of testing for.
Yeah, I think this is their like repeat offenders, and let's see if one of these has gotten worse, like that kind of thing. Because like Nozema is a thing that's gone on for a while. Along with all these other, obviously Varroa is a big thing, and the viruses that go along with it.
And maybe the mites building up resistance to the treatments that the community's been using. Is that kind of what they're concerned about?
Yeah, that's at least with Amitraz, because Amitraz has been known to have some resistance built up to it, from what I've read about it. So we'll see what that actually ends up being. Yeah. I'll be very curious about that. I do know that, like, chemically and technically speaking, the mites cannot build up resistance to oxalic acid.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of kill on contact type thing. It doesn't really sit in the colony and fester. So that's kind of what they're probing for. We'll see if other things pop up.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more to the pesticide thing.
Right.
Hopefully, I'm hoping that Varroa is not going to be crazy. Again, it's kind of treatable. There's 4 or 5 treatment options on the market. Amitraz is just favored by the commercial guys. Oxalic acid is just kind of one of many. It's kind of the primary one, but the reality is it's a time is money thing. So it really just comes down to making better, faster products that let these guys do the same job and then some in the same time frame. Like that's really the big piece if it comes down to be this resistance thing. So we're going to stay tuned for that.
This testing was pretty much all done with the commercial guys, not like the
yeah. So that's what. So at a first read, I was like, oh God, we're really in bad shape here, and we are. But when you start looking at as commercial beekeepers, like their first 3 words are as commercial beekeepers, and then they've sampled 234 beekeepers and landed on almost $500,000 average across those beekeepers and losses.
Yeah.
So the average beekeeper does not have hundreds of thousands of dollars to be, so I would assume that all of those are commercial. So I don't know if this leans into the smaller guys, if it is, maybe a combination, so like trucking bees across country, which is, it has to happen to keep up with demand of our food supply. It just has to happen. But maybe it's that paired with some of these, pesticides, and then load of some extra mites. Maybe there's a kind of perfect concoction that's kind of working in.
Yeah, I guess at this point it's like a lot of speculation until we get more like research and data and.
Yeah, it is, and it is a lot of speculation, but it's really just an awareness thing. Like it's on people's radar now. Everybody is kind of knows that we're fighting a battle that's worse than normal. So it'll be kind of figuring out what happened, because we had this back. Like 08 or 09, I believe it was the colony collapse disease. And this was where the bees were just basically disappearing out of the boxes. They were just going and not coming back. And I believe that was due to, and they can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe this was due to a pesticide that they were eating, and the bees were going and not being able to make it back home or something like that. So the bees were constantly knowing where to go.
Yeah.
But like couldn't get back, or they were dying in route. I forget the specific details in motion with that.
Sad.
So they've fixed that in large majority. But that was like the last time that they've had like this catastrophic of a thing go on. So I'm hoping it's not some weird variant of that.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're thinking about ways that we can help and jump in and kind of like catch this early.
Yeah,
That's great.
And it seems like it's not going to be necessarily catch it early, but what we can do to just aid there, because the damage is kind of done.
Right.
But try and see what we can do moving forward to help them just collect data or what, you know, and maybe it's just they need more testing devices or whatever it ends up being. You know, we've got a lot of manufacturing capabilities now, so I want to be able to you know, provide where we're needed. You know, if we're not needed, we're not going to be able to help them, then that's fine. But like I want people to know that like we have the services in house to make whatever they really need for the market, whatever, you know, the just scientists alone need. Like this is if this is just one off stuff, like that's fine. We've got a wall of 3D printers. Like I do modeling. Like we can make any tool or any device that they need to be successful to get this you know, moving, and that's the big piece of it. So all right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. I just wanted to, you know, like I said, shed some light on it, have some discussion, and if you guys have any further thoughts, obviously I'm not versed with a doctorate on any of this. I'm going with what I'm told. If you guys have any, you know, resources that you could share with me, links that some literature that I can go through to better my knowledge base, by all means, start in the comments section. If there's any way that I can directly help, by all means, feel free to reach out. Get me in touch with whoever you can. If you think that we can really assist them in making this a faster process of gathering data, or anything else. So anyway, that's the bad news. We're going to try and turn into some good stuff and really help some people, if we can. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we will check in the next one. See ya.